The Black Ops 7 beta just dropped, and there are so many settings that make your game look completely deep fried or make it feel like you're moving in mud. So today I have for you the absolute best settings that you should be using if you want to actually enjoy the game. For the first setting, you're going to want to turn off the dismember and the gore effects. This isn't needed for everybody, but a lot of the time in the other Call of Duties, it does make your game crash, and so it should be a little bit more stable. Next up, we are going to be going over the interface ones, which a lot of people skip over, but they don't realize how important this is. So make sure you turn off all the tutorials, all the tooltips, makes everything run a little bit better. And then the readability doesn't matter too much except for the color customization. This is when you make your game actually pop and make it easy to see the enemies. Now the default red is going to be like this orange, but I like to make it a little bit more red, although you can change the color to whatever you like. I just like to keep it red, make my team on green and the party on blue. That part doesn't matter too much, but for the color filter, make sure this is on filter 2, color filter target on both, and then you want to max out the world color intensity as well as the interface color intensity. That should make everything pop a lot more. There's a couple other settings that you can do to also make the game not look as deep fried. For the radar, by default, this is off. I don't know why, so make sure that's on. Same with the minimap visibility and the minimap rotation. You don't need the compass, that's just going to be unnecessary clutter. For the HUD bounds, you want to make everything as tight as possible. Tighter the better always, you know. And so just, yeah, that makes it so you don't have to look up to the top left for your minimap as, as far. For the crosshair lines, we're going to have this on static, and then crosshair dot, we're going to have this on the static as well. For the crosshair opacity, 100%. I like to make mine like a nice cyan blue. You can do whatever color you want. And then I like to make it also, you can like show more in the crosshair dot. If you're on a very big TV, or like maybe I would say like 40-inch plus, I would make it on the largest. If you're on a monitor, I like to have it on larger unless you have super good eyes, then you can have it on default. I've seen a lot of pros use both of those ones. And then we are going to go, and make sure for the crosshair lines, you have this, the crosshair line spread on. And then you're going to go down over here, make sure these two things are on. That should wrap it up for the interface settings. Now, I do use an Xbox Elite V2 controller, and so I can kind of keep a lot of my settings on default because I have all these front buttons on the back, allowing me to be able to take advantage of the Omni movement while also having good aim. Now, if you don't have a fancy controller, that is perfectly fine. You can just go over to the aiming input device. I mean, you can go to the button layout and then put it onto the bumper jumper tactical. This is going to make it so then you can jump with the top left bumper, and then you can crouch with the right stick by just clicking it down. So that allows you to be able to move while also having very good aim. So that is very crucial. Or you can play claw, which is where you have your pointer finger up here, and so then you're clicking these buttons, because you just don't want to use your thumb, because then you can't move your aim as you're actually moving on the game. So it's super unbelievably crucial. Now for the stick layout preset, just keep it on default. For the sensitivities, a lot of the pros keep it between like 1.42 and 1.65. Obviously, if you're on Warzone, you want to have it a higher sense, but then we're on multiplayer, so you don't really need as high of a sense. Overall though, you can get used to any sensitivity. This is more so just for your consistency, and so you have better centering, which is that center white dot on the center of your screen. You want to make sure that's where an enemy could be, so all you have to do is ADS and fire. You don't want to have to ADS and drag over and fire, and so this helps you be a little bit more consistent with that. Simplify controls preset off, low motor string preset off, bumper ping. I think pinging in multiplayer is super cheesy. Warzone a little bit different. You can have it on if you want. This is gonna, if you swap the bumpers with the triggers, instead of pulling down a trigger, you can click a button, so it's actually a lot easier to trigger fingers. So a lot of people do like that. This controller though has trigger lock, so I just barely tap it and it's gonna register on the game. Controller vibration, if you usually have this on, make sure this is off. It's gonna feel a little bit weird at first, but I promise you, less things vibrating in your hand is going to lead to better aim. You're not going to get as excited. For the dead zone inputs, we're going to have that left stick mid at 0 or at 1. My guy will automatically walk forward by himself, so I have it at 1 to prevent that. For the left stick max, I have it at 65, and so now if I want to get to max movement speed, I only have to move that left stick 65% of the way to reach full potential of movement. The lowest I've seen anybody go, and like the pros go, is probably 45. If you go too low, it's going to be not as responsive, or you can't be as precise with it. And then I wouldn't go past 75, because you just want to make it so you can get to that max movement speed a little bit faster. So for me, I found that 65 works super good. For the right stick mid, I like to have it at 5. I still do have a little bit of stick drifts, and so I should increase it to like 7, but then the game isn't as responsive, and so I don't mind a little bit of drift if I can have a more responsive game. In general, I should probably just get a new controller. And then even with the new controller, the lowest I really go is 3. Sometimes it feels like you have a little bit more aim assist if you have a little bit higher of a dead zone rather than just keeping it at like 0. For the right stick max, we're going to have it at 99. Left trigger, right trigger. So the second you hit the trigger, it's going to respawn onto the game. And that's going to wrap it up for the controller settings. For the aim and advanced settings, we're going to go to show more, and then we're going to make sure the ADS sensitivity transition timing is on gradual or on instant. This is kind of personal preference, but you can go over to the custom sensitivity per zoom, and then you can turn this on. And so then you can change the ADS sensitivity multiplier to like maybe 0.85. So then when you're moving around the map, you have like, let's say 1.6, but then if you have this on 0.85, that means it's going to be at 85% of that speed. So a little bit slower than if you're not ADS, which I like to keep everything consistent. And so I like to have that off. And then so the ADS sensitivity transition doesn't really matter. If you have it on gradual, and this is like, you know, a different value, it's going to slowly get to 0.85 as you're ADSing. Some players like that, some players don't like that. If I have it on 0.85, I do like that, but don't think about it too much. A lot of all these things, you can get used to any sensitivity, anything. It's just more about IQ in the game. And then for the aim response curve type, this is crucial. You want this on dynamic. This is just going to give you a little bit extra aim assist. And then you can also do show more. And the lowest I've seen anybody go is like 0.92. The lower you go, the closer to linear you're going to get. So it kind of lowers your aim assist, which some people say it's a little bit too sticky or a little bit annoying. So then they lower it by a little bit, but most of you guys should do perfectly fine on dynamic, then keep it at the 1.0. And then for the target aim assist, obviously you want that on. For the movement, we're going to have this on tactical sprint assist. If somebody's tac sprinting and you're not tac sprinting, like say you're just running and you both ADS at the same time and you have the same gun, you're going to win the gunfight because there is a delay when you're tac sprinting and then you go into fire. But then you got to mash that left stick constantly, kind of wears down your controller. It's a little bit annoying. So I like to just have it on tactical sprint assist, which is what most players have it on. And then make sure you lower the, do show more, and then lower the delay to 0, and then have the sprint assist sideways and the backward both on. For the mantle assist, you want to be in control of everything. So make sure that's off. Automatic airborne mantle, you're going to have this off. Wingsuit activation, manual. Again, you want everything to be in your own control. You're going to go to show more on the movement advanced settings. We're going to go to tactical sprint activation, single tap run. So if you are laying down and you go to tac sprint, or you have it on so where you have to click that left stick once to tac sprint, this is going to make it so it's just a little bit more responsive. You don't have to be sprinting, you can just basically run. For the plunging underwater, we're going to have this on free, sprinting door bash on, and which there's no doors in the game to bash open. So I don't know. That's just a copy and paste from last year. So here you can see a lot of that copy and paste code in there. If you guys do find this video helpful, make sure you guys drop a sub, drop a like, a little vouch in the comments. Just trying to go in depth so you guys have every little question answered. Now we're going to go over to the combat side. ADS side behavior hold, weapon mount activation ADS plus melee, armor plate behavior apply all, equipment behavior hold, combat advanced settings. We're going to basically go down to prioritize interact or prioritize reload. This is going to make it so instead of so you can just pick up guns off the ground by just clicking the reload button instead of having to hold it. Prioritize reload is also good. This, if you're not used to this, when you go to reload your gun, you might pick up a gun off the floor, but it's a little bit faster to pick up a gun mid gunfight rather than reload. So if you're out of ammo, you know there's a gun on the floor, just pick it up instead of reloading and you'll probably win that gunfight. So that's why prioritize interact is super helpful. It's also what you use in Warzone, but you know, we're on the multiplayer. Mantle cancels reload on, off. Sprint cancels reload off. Kimbo behavior, you're gonna have this on independent. ADS stick swap off. Depleted ammo weapon switch off. Same with the mount activation and the return all on off. So you have more control of everything. Advanced overlay settings, this doesn't matter, but just make sure the delays are off. And that should wrap it up for everything related to the controller. Now we're gonna go over to the graphics, which if you're on console, a lot of these things aren't going to be there for you, but a lot of things are going to be there for you. So just stay tuned for that. And, you know, some things will apply to you. Now for the necrophobia mode, if you don't like spiders, you can have this off. On. Motion reduction preset off. Field of view. I'm going to have mine at 120. So it looks like I'm moving faster. The gameplay is a little bit more fun to watch. But if you're on multiplayer, I wouldn't do anything past 105. Every single pro player will not be using past 105. A lot of the players on Optic, they use 97, 98. That's because the maps aren't that big, so you don't need to see so much. And the bigger the FOV, the smaller the targets are going to be, the harder it actually is to be able to, you know, lock onto them. And you're just a lot more consistent on the lower FOVs. Warzone, the maps are bigger, so you actually can take advantage of the higher FOV. 99% of the time, I'm at 103. I just want my gameplays to look cool, so I'm going to have it at 120. ADS field of view affected, weapon field of view wide. For the third person field of view, we're going to have it at 90. Vehicle field of view, we're going to have that on to wide as well. World motion blur off. And then also in here, you guys are probably wondering where the setting is, where like if you're in a gun, or if you slide into a gunfight and you ADS, like slide ADS into the gunfight, makes your guy go into like a tack slide where you have to hip fire. The only way to fix that is with a perk on the game. Supposedly there's nothing in the settings, because that was actually kind of pissing me off, and they need to fix that. For the display tab, you want this on full screen exclusive. Check the monitor that you have, your graphics card, screen refresh rate. I can go up to 360. Display resolution, I'm playing on 1440p. Aspect ratio automatic, and then display gamma just 2.2. NVIDIA reflex low latency on. Eco mode preset efficiency, you want the VSync gameplay off, and then VSync menus off. Custom frame, make sure in the menus it's at 60, so your PC and stuff doesn't need to work harder than it needs to. And then in the game, just max that out. I can go up to 300. Reduce menu render resolution optimal, I can't speak at all. And then we're gonna have pause game rendering off, reduce quality when active, the focus mode off, and then that's gonna wrap it up for those settings. Now for the quality, which is gonna be the one of the last tabs of this video, you want the upscale / sharpening on fidelity. Yes, you can get more FPS with these things, but night and day difference. This is really what makes your game look amazing. Looks like it's so much easier to see the enemy, and just overall you're going to enjoy life a lot more when you have this on 100. You can keep it between 50 or 100. It's all personal preference in there. And then you're going to do VRAM scaled target 90, unless you have a single PC. I have a dual PC setup, so I'm just running the game only on here. Usually I like to watch YouTube or something as I'm playing, so then I would usually lower at 80, but now I have a dual PC, so I just don't need to do that. Variable rate shading, we're gonna have that on. If your PC starts crashing or feeling weird, you can take that off. Texture resolution, so my videos look good, I have it on high, but usually I have it on low. Very low makes it sometimes the target's a little bit hard to see. Texture filter anastrophic low. Depth of field off. Detail quality low. Particle resolution very low. Bullet impacts off. Persistent effects off. Shader quality low. On-demand texture streaming, we're gonna have that on optimize. Local texture streaming quality default. Shadow quality very low. Screen space shadows, camos look better on high, but you can't really do camos in this game, so off. Occlusion and screen space lighting off. Screen space reflection, again, camos look good with it on high, but there's no camos, so off. Static reflection quality low. Terrain quality very low. Volumetric quality low. Deferred physics quality off. Weather grid volumes quality off. Water quality on off. That should maximize your FPS while also making everything very clear and easy to see the enemies. Now it's not going to feel like you're in the mud. You're going to be able to see everything. Your game isn't going to crash as much. If there's any settings I missed out, let me know in the comments, but that should wrap it up. If you guys do enjoy, make sure you guys drop a like, and I hope you guys enjoy the game.